to go when you are, Dan.
I think we are live.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to another FPVFC Town Hall. With us tonight, we got Dave, Alex, Dan, and myself. Um, Hopefully, we're bringing some interesting articles here tonight. I feel like some of them are interesting, including some new tariffs that are going to impact the cost of DJI products, some new laws, and Amazon starting off its drone delivery again. So that should be interesting as well. They had a 2 month hiatus there, but let me go ahead and get my screen shared here. Let's see. All right. So this comes from Drone DJ. State drone laws might be getting out of hand, and I'm going to preface this by saying 100% agree. And this is going to specify a specific state, in this case, Connecticut. But here's the thing: is before I even get started, state drone laws that act to restrict flights or anything like that run against preemption with the FAA. And it also makes it more difficult for whether it's recreational flyers, commercial flyers to fly legally if they're trying to operate a business. Now, if you're located in one specific state, great. But if you're not and you travel or, do any kind of jobs for hire where you're traveling to multiple states to make a living, it makes it extremely difficult. But in this case, the author Seth goes starts by saying laws regulating the purchase and ownership of drones have skyrocketed over the last couple years thanks to movements to ban Chinese-made drones from the U.S. The popularity of drones has also added other regulations like where you can and can't take off and land, or where you can operate one from. However, Connecticut might have one of the most restrictive and potentially unconstitutional laws, not in the works, but already passed. Last month, Connecticut's government passed House Bill 7066, an amalgamation of several new laws from immigration authorities and schools to funding the state government. It also has a few sections on the use of drones in the state. Section 7, the most interesting section of the bunch, sets in place regulations on how low a drone can fly over critical infrastructure. The state itself defines critical infrastructure, and here's the list. So,
Yikes.
yeah, much more than the FAA defines it. So, we've got power plants, facilities for storing, receiving, or processing petroleum products, chemical or rubber manufacturing or storage facilities, correctional facilities, telecommunication offices or infrastructure, commercial port, harbor, rail yard, truck terminal, or other freight transportation facility, gas manufacturer and distribution plants, television or radio stations licensed by the FCC, above ground oil, gas, or chemical pipelines, a dam classified as high or significant hazard by the Commissioner of Energy and Environmental Protection, an air navigation facility, a military facility, a reservoir, water treatment plant, distribution system, and pumping station or wastewater treatment plant collection system and pump stations, a facility used primarily by a defense contractor, government office building, hospital, public safety building or facility, state or locally owned bridge, or limited access highway or tunnel located on a limited access highway.
That's
So I
like
hear they still want to risk
everything.
people on inspections.
What's that?
So it sounds like they want to still risk people for inspections.
Yeah, no,
Right.
no inspecting bridges with a drone.
Yep.
Well,
Also,
there is the obvious provision here in which people who are performing duties for the state, obviously, are exempt from this. So it still, allows for inspection and that kind of thing. But
I I was
Yeah,
that
wondering
cuts
how
off a lot of areas.
an office building is critical infrastructure. I mean,
mhm.
it's a little comical, but it's all and serious. I mean, it's like, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. So any drone pilot cannot fly their drone less than 250 feet above or 100 feet horizontally from any of these facilities. This is
Morton in the comments was talking about he thought the reservoir was the worst on the list until he heard state-owned bridge, and like where I'm at, like technically there's bridges everywhere. Like they're over a
right.
little tiny swamp, or there's a culvert, or like there's
Mhm.
a 10-foot
Hmm.
bridge here, and like
Yeah.
constantly every road's got a bridge somewhere nearby. and the
Yeah, so
state owns them.
it just creates this maze of being able to operate, right? So
And telecommunications equipment, telecommunications office or infrastructure. So there's boxes by like every 10 houses down a road. That's telecommunications infrastructure,
yeah,
or
I
a
have one in
telephone
my front
pole,
yard.
or like
Can't fly in your yard anymore,
they're
Josh.
everywhere
Apparently. Well, I don't live in
in
Connecticut,
Connecticut.
so that's a win. So, this is a law restricting your drone's flight, not where you're operating the drone or taking off or landing from. So, simply flying your drone in Class G airspace near something like a hospital or police station would be illegal in the state of Connecticut.
Right.
This section of the law will go into effect on October 1st, 2025. And it's a Class A misdemeanor. So, yeah, that's fun. As expected, law enforcement, government employees, military, and contractors tasked with working in these areas are exempt. It also formalizes a ban on the purchase and operation of any drones from companies that are on the federal government's entity list, like DJI. Obviously, this is he doesn't specify here, but I did look into the bill. It does specify government or government contractor purchases and use of, not regular civilians and recreational operators. So, and then finally, the bill bans any weapons or bombs from being attached to drones, something already banned by the FAA. So,
Got to double
speaking
ban
of the,
it.
yeah, well, you just got to make sure, right? Speaking of the FAA, the law may cause some issues for them. While states can regulate where you can operate a drone or take off or land one, the U.S. law is quite clear about who is in charge of regulating the U.S. airspace. Obviously, the FAA, as we all know, claims sovereignty over the airspace. Go ahead, Alex.
Just gonna say, I wonder with the one where it's like the public safety facilities, so like police stations and all. I wonder if one of those audit people would take up a drone and fly it to audit a police station as protest to this rule and something. That'd be interesting.
It's definitely interesting, but again, until any law can be made, it's whether it stands up to challenge, right? So, if somebody gets nipped for one of these violations, then obviously a challenge may occur if they feel that they can defeat it. So, yeah, that's pretty restrictive. It just seems like I'm with Dan on this. Even here in Phoenix, we've got bridges everywhere. It sounds kind of weird being in a desert, but there's canals, there's water retention, there's flood canals, all those different things are bridges, right? And I'm sure all of them are owned by the state. So, it makes it extremely difficult to even fly. It just doesn't make any sense. And a telecommunications office, like an office building, really, that just doesn't make any sense either. So, yeah, it's silly to me. But hey, there you go. There's Connecticut for you.
Yeah, I wonder if with the state, all these states adding different things, if maybe on the federal government side of things, if the regs were changed to allow interstate travel with drones, where like you could fly across borders, that would alleviate some of this, because I could see an argument of your drone's not allowed to leave our state anyways, so we should be able to control it, versus if it could alleviate that.
This is
argument.
It's a situation where the advanced air mobility should be helpful to us, because the RSS, or the regional support service companies, want to operate across state borders. And if all of a sudden they're going to have to say, stop, you can't fly here, that will hinder their business. So, and they are all large companies, so that could be a helpful lobby for us.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now we got coming from Drone XL and Hi-A. Trump's new tariffs set to increase DJI drone prices by 34%, reshaping U.S. drone market. So the Trump administration's latest round of tariffs announced today on Chinese goods will significantly impact U.S. drone enthusiasts and professionals, with DJI products, including the upcoming DJI Mavic 4 Pro drone, facing price hikes of 34%. The escalation comes as President Trump announced an additional 10 and 24% tariff on Chinese imports, supplementing the existing 20% tariffs implemented during his first term. The tariff expansion arrives just weeks before DJI's anticipated Mavic 4 Pro launch, forcing potential buyers to recalibrate their budgets. The standard DJI Mavic 4 Pro, originally priced at $2,250, is now projected to retail for $3,015.
Ouch.
Yeah. The premium Mavic 4 Pro 512 gigabyte creator combo will jump from $4,400 to $5,896, almost $5,900, representing an almost $1,500 increase. These tariffs are essentially a tax on United States consumers, as most economists expect that Chinese manufacturers like DJI will pass these costs directly to American buyers rather than absorb them internally. The drone maker could distribute price increases globally to soften the U.S. specific impact or potentially absorb a portion of the tariff costs. However, the most likely outcome remains full cost transfer to U.S. consumers, according to industry experts.
Right.
Yeah. The price increases extend beyond the drones themselves. This includes accessories, the intelligent flight battery increasing from 180 to 241, and the electronic ND filter jumping from 220 to 294. Even DJI Care Refresh protection plans will see substantial increases, with the 2-year plan rising from $365 to $489.10. So,
well, I'm no tariff expert, but it's not even up to DJI what it costs, right? It's the person importing it pays the tax or the tariff, and it's whether or not the importer, which I don't know if DJI is their own importer in the United States or how that works, but
but DJI could
lower their wholesale
initial
cost,
right?
Potentially.
Yeah.
And smoothing the cost, as Haye recommends, is an option, but unlikely. I agree. Highly unlikely. That's a dull or unintelligent maneuver, because you become uncompetitive in other markets. And I've had experience in this, and you're much better off to fight the battle locally and pass the price increase along to customers. Then you decrease unit sales in that single geography, because spreading the price tends to decrease your unit sales in other parts of the world, and that's a bad plan. So.
And I would, and Haye kind of, hits on this here on the next paragraph, but one of the things that's kind of funny is that DJI could essentially, just leave these costs in place and still be competitive, like way more than competitive with U.S. drone market, right? So
well said.
Morton's also asking in the YouTube comments that if DJI or any other company shipped parts to a North American assembly factory, would that make them American made? And my assumption is that the parts coming in would have a tariff on them anyway. So
that's exactly right.
Already increased the price.
That's a really good question, and you're absolutely right, Dan. The components, as well as the fully assembled, have the full boat of the tariffs.
The only thing I think that would kind of mitigate this is if DJI built a manufacturing facility here in the U.S.
Right. Then they could get Yep. Yeah. The other thing is,
did they used to talk about that as an idea before?
Yeah, they did.
That idea has been floated before.
Yeah. I don't think they're about to do that right now, and I'm sure their own government would frown on it. The other thing is, I want to circle back when the dust settles in a couple of weeks and we see the tariffs floating through, because Haye is a buddy and that we all respect him. He mentioned an existing 20. I think it's 25. So I think there's another 5% on the total components and built drones. But we'll take a look and we'll make sure what the harmonized tariff schedule reports in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So it does. Obviously it touches on U.S. manufacturing, but they'd have to manufacture here. It wouldn't just be an assembly scenario. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. But the sad fact is, and I'll repeat it, is that DJI will still be leaps and bounds more competitive than almost any U.S. drone manufacturer. So,
right.
I can't quote because I don't know the prices of everybody's, but I've seen quoted prices from some, and I mean, it still is leaps and bounds ahead. So, all right, we got Virginia Tech researchers advance drone use for media group. So Sinclair Broadcasting has become the first media group to meet FAA-approved means of compliance for drone operations over people, with the help of Virginia Tech researchers. So it says reporters can now capture the news from a bird's eye view of a drone thanks to Virginia Tech researchers. In late February, Sinclair Broadcast Group became the first media group to meet a FAA-approved means of compliance developed by the Virginia Tech Mid-Atlantic Aviation Partnership for drone operations over people. This allows them to fly unmanned aircraft systems over individuals and moving vehicles for news gathering without an FAA waiver.
And if you are not familiar with Sinclair Broadcasting, I believe they're the company that owns almost every single local news organization in the country. Like all your local news channels repeat exactly what Sinclair Broadcasting tells them to repeat. There's some really good YouTube videos out there of
everybody saying the
everyone
same thing.
saying exactly the same line. Yep.
So it says this is a result of more than a year of extensive preparation and testing in the lab where everyone worked to find a safe solution, said Jeff Rose, Sinclair's UAS chief pilot. Our partnership with Virginia Tech has been instrumental in ensuring the highest safety and training standards. According to Sinclair, all of its drone pilots undergo rigorous training at the Mid-Atlantic Aviation Partnership, which is an FAA-designated UAS test site. This ensures pilots are equipped with advanced skills and knowledge in drone operations and safety procedures. In 2021, the drone industry provided a pathway for flying over people with the FAA's establishment of the Operations Over People rule for Category 2 and 3 operations. The rule allows for such operations, but only after a drone is tested to show it complies with the rule. The categories require that the aircraft does not exceed comparative injury limits upon impact or contain exposed rotating parts capable of lacerating human skin. Later that year, the FAA accepted a first means of compliance for satisfying the rules requirements developed by MAP and Virginia Tech's Center for Injury Biomechanics. So, this is pretty big news. Being able to fly a drone without waivers is definitely a step in the right direction. So good times there. We got Amazon is resuming drone delivery, so maybe I can still get that drone delivery at my house here. But
how many times have they resumed and canceled and resumed now?
Every other year.
So apparently the reason for the cancellation was, and I mean, those who've been to Arizona and my wife included, was because the altitude sensors were getting were miscalibrated due to the dust in the air. Dave's over there dying laughing.
Altitude sensors and dust?
Yeah.
I thought they used like air pressure.
Be barometric.
But...
So it says Amazon has restarted drone deliveries in 2 states after a months-long pause. The company confirmed in.
You could get dust in your barometric sensor or something that could clog it up. Maybe I don't know.
Hasn't happened to me yet, but you know. In January, Amazon halted Prime Air deliveries in College Station, Texas, and Tolleson, Arizona, the 2 U.S. markets where it's testing the service, as the company rolled out a software update to its drone fleet. Amazon discovered an abnormality with the drone's altitude sensor caused by dust in the air that could have caused its system to produce an inaccurate reading of its position relative to the ground, the company said.
Kind of an important thing to know.
Well, Amazon definitely has experience with altitude relative to the ground. Amazon never experienced an actual safety issue, but said it opted to suspend deliveries while it corrected the issue. The company brought drone deliveries back online last week after it completed the software update and received approval from the FAA. Safety underscores everything we do at Prime Air, which is why we pause our operations to conduct a software update on the Mark 30 drone. The updates are now complete and were approved by the FAA, allowing us to resume deliveries. Sometimes I think I'm probably on a list and Amazon won't deliver to me because I'm, a little bit of a turd bag. But hey, I'd still like to witness.
They still want your money, so you're fine.
But
Yeah,
they
100%.
probably do know everything about you too.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
look,
wonder what sort of sensor they're using on the barrel. I know on our little quads, sometimes it's advised to put like foam as a bit of a filter over these things, and that could be clogged. But wow, yeah, a barometric pressure being obscured by dust.
And wouldn't you have like GPS as a backup for your elevation? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, you'd want some airflow through that electronics chamber in those things, right? So shouldn't that be
Mm-hmm.
filtered? Like,
Right. So their
that's
little
my thought.
filters were being clogged. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, look forward to seeing this. Amazon has set a goal to deliver 500 million packages by drone per year by the end of the decade. So we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Wing
Big
is just
number.
chugging away over in Dallas Fort Worth right now.
Yeah.
So, all right, two more, kind of both related to drone as first responder. So, a new certificate of waiver process streamlines approvals for public safety agencies. This is huge. Um, to be honest, the FAA has introduced a groundbreaking update to the regulatory process for drone as first responder operations. Retired Chief Charles Werner of Drone Responders has described these changes as the most significant since 2016. Let's see. The new certificate of waiver process replaces the traditional certificate of authorization, simplifying and expediting approvals for public safety agencies utilizing drones in emergency response. This new process simplifies and expedites the DFR waiver approval process and will have the most significance to date and will ultimately increase the number of agencies that start programs exponentially. I estimate in 2 years we will go from 40 DFR programs today to over 1,000 and beyond. The two big challenges in DFR were getting a human visual observer off the roof uh, and the complexity and time required for approval of the technology needed to do so. Under the new system, all waivers are managed exclusively by FAA flight standards with airspace authorization language already integrated into the waiver. This eliminates the need for dual approvals from both flight standards and the air traffic organization. By consolidating the process, public safety agencies can now secure approvals more efficiently, reducing burdens and delays. Um, One of the most impactful changes is the reduction in documentation required for waiver applications. Agencies no longer need to submit lengthy concept of operation documents. Instead, a straightforward questionnaire now serves to outline operational plans. For operations below 200 feet or within 50 feet of the highest obstacle, ADS-B technologies is sufficient under controlled airspace facility map grids. For operations exceeding up to 400 feet, agencies must complete a detect and avoid CMD form to detail their detect and avoid technology capabilities. Additionally, a public safety organization letter on agency letterhead is required to validate eligibility as a public aircraft operation. First time applicants should also specify their status as what they are basically. Are you part of a city, county, or state? And then updated process also eliminates the needs for NOTAMs, further simplifying operational requirements. Monthly reporting remains mandatory, but has been greatly streamlined to reduce administrative overhead. The new COWs are valid for 4 years, long-term operational stability. So, it's funny because Rob's process through this was probably his agency's process was probably much more difficult, and now this definitely streamlines this. So,
Yeah,
and
and
I know.
our congratulations to Charles Werner of Drone
Mhm,
Responders. He was instrumental in getting this approved. And
100%.
we have, as Josh was just referencing, Rob Robertson, Public Safety Officer, as part of FPVFC. We try to stay very close to what's going on in public safety for a couple of reasons. One, they're using technology, and if we can offer any advice, great. We're here. We're here to help. Two, it's a great place to get a job if you want to go fly drones, to be
Mhm.
helpful if it's in the police, if it's in search and rescue, if it's in fire. I mean, this makes that sort of job easier to become possible. And drone responders are doing things like, this is what it takes to set up a fleet within your municipality. So this is an 8,500 strong organization. It's worldwide. They're doing a lot of good. We chat with them regularly, and we're grateful that they talk to us. And congratulations, this is a big deal. I agree with Charles' view that this is one of the most significant changes that they've gained, and hopefully this will help us in terms of getting easier waivers for Part 107 as well in the BV loss area.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely drone responders as an organization. I'm sure Charles, I will underscore, played massive roles in this, including meeting with the FAA and White House officials. So, good deal there.
Yeah.
Dave, you sent me a quick kind of hit on this, and then I found an article back from the middle of the month on this is Flying Lion Incorporated, the nation's first dedicated drone as first responder training center. So, Flying Lion is now made a old abandoned town. It was an old, I believe, iron mining town in California.
Yep.
I think it's Eagle Springs or something like that. Let's see.
Eagle Mountain?
Eagle Mountain, yeah. So they now own all of this, and it was a town. It used to be a town of 4,000 people, 400 homes, and now they use it as a training facility for drone as first responder, which is awesome, like super cool. So they announced the launch of Flytown, the nation's first dedicated drone as first responder training center, designed for real-world DFR training, testing, and collaboration. Flytown provides a secure, vendor-agnostic environment with no ground risk and minimal conflict with crewed aircraft. Flytown is the first of its kind facility that provides a safe, remote environment for public safety agencies to train, test, and collaborate on real-world DFR operations. Flytown provides public safety agencies with realistic scenario-based training to develop and define DFR tactics. Agencies can participate in 20-plus operational scenarios through Flying Lion hosted or vendor-led programs, enhancing readiness in a controlled, safe setting. They have also secured an FAA Part 107 beyond visual line of sight waiver up to 400 feet with no human visual observer, enabling 24/7 remote training flights from any location with an internet connection. The goal was to find a safe location to train remote operators on real-world calls for service, and Flytown is the solution, said Barry Brennan, president and founder of Flying Lion. Thanks to our hardware and software partners, we have built a truly special training facility where remote pilots can train without being on site. So it's situated in the California-Colorado desert, provides an extreme environment for hardware stress testing with 110-degree Fahrenheit plus summer temperatures, under 3 inches of annual rainfall, and 348 days of sunshine per year. Perfect for evaluating drone endurance and reliability.
As long as you don't care about testing in rain.
Or
Yes.
Or maybe the altimeters can get a good testing on a dusty environment, or the barometers.
So Flying Lion is proud to have the following UAS partners in supporting. So drone responders, fantastic. National Institute of Standards and Technology, Matrix Space, Tempest Weather UAvionics, DJI, AVSS, Nokia, IR Tools, Roden Schwartz, Starlink, T-Mobile, Flight Ops, a bunch of others here. So they've been around since 2014. And yeah, I had their website. Let me pull it.
This is really clever. We all love new technology, things that are innovative and bleeding edge. This is not that. This is so clever. This uses common available off-the-shelf technology. It's designed to be 100% remote. So if you are a police or a fire municipality across the country, anywhere, you can dial in and get a day's training and learn how to handle a drone, and then learn your own city. So This is definitely a need to have practical training, not just a book, not just something like Part 107, but how does the aircraft respond? How does it handle? So this is just so great that this couple of people put this together, have created a business on this, and they've used proven off-the-shelf technology. I mean, my hat's off to these guys. This is cool.
I have so there's a couple courses here: law enforcement outdoor infrared thermal training, which is cool, and then drone as first responder air support officer training. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is pretty cool. They help you. They can help with setting up a DFR program. They can help with training, and then they also offer services where they're providing the staffing as opposed to having to absorb the costs internally with a public safety organization. You can hire their pilots, which is pretty cool as well. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to go and just participate in something like this just as a civilian, but this
Yeah,
is
and
pretty cool.
if you have the money, they're happy to open it up to civilian companies or individuals as well. Their mission and the way they got permission was to get this agreed to for public safety, but it's not restricted.
hmm So yeah, any kind of training and experience is amazing. So this is cool. Hats off to them, and putting use to an old town that was just sitting out in the middle of the desert, and it is awesome as well. I mean, I absolutely commend that. So
The other thing is that if we're hoping that sometime this year we see the FAA beyond visual line of sight notice for public rulemaking, and
mhm,
if there is a section in there which we anticipate of Part 108, a lot of the discussion in the beyond visual line of sight aviation rulemaking committee was, well, that would really like to have a practical set of part of the testing for a Part 108,
mhm.
and a setup like this tailor-made for that. So that could be a great solution to a practical exam for Part 108.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, that's all I have for us this evening. Dave, you got anything for us? Or
I responded to I published our group's response to the FCC NPRM today. The FCC is put out a notice for public rulemaking that they were going to expand the utilization of 450 megahertz spectrum for command and control. So on the surface, I was like, oh, that's cool, until you start reading the 72-page document and you realize, oh, new spectrum means new equipment, new cost, and it's not protected spectrum. So we remember back in the FAA Reauthorization Act 2018, Section 374, we were supposed to get protected spectrum. This is not protected. This is more shared spectrum. And the FCC is proposing to auction this off to a single vendor. So the prices would be set by one company, no competition, and it would be akin to yet another cell phone-like subscription fee. So this feels rife for being taken advantage of by a single company. Doesn't sound like a great deal. Doesn't sound like it's going to be inexpensive, and it's going to the other services that will also be using the 450 megahertz are um, geo and spatial and space location and space navigation. So satellite navigation and aircraft location. So we made about 4 pages of comments. We posted them. They're available publicly. We'll probably put them up on our website as well. This
So
is one of the things that we do. Go
if a
ahead, Dan.
single company owns the spectrum, does that mean you have to pay a license fee to use it if they decide that that's how it works? Or basically, they decide
Exactly.
who gets to use it, when, and why, and how much they have to pay for it.
Yes, because in the NPRM there was nothing that stipulated how this private company would manage the spectrum. It was like, well, they'll just charge for it. They'll figure it out. So it did not sound really great. And of course, there was no discussion of hopefully this would not coincide with a takeaway of 900, 2.4, or 5.8 gigahertz.
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, this is one of the things we do. This is not what we expect recreational hobbyists to be spending their time on, and so this sort of time consuming to pour through these documents and try to understand. We asked around. There are a lot of great people that we work with who are super technical in this space, and they have a surface level view of, from a technical perspective, adding spectrum sounds good. And the FCC's view of interference was, well, we don't anticipate there is any interference, providing no rationale as to why do you think there would be no interference? This is an active spectrum today. So, but yeah, it's like the FCC has not been great to hobbyists, and this looks like they're maintaining that track record.
Yep, everybody wants a little bit of that radio frequency for their own capabilities, right? And
Yes.
Their own pocketbooks and money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the FCC agreed that this may not be as lucrative as selling cell phone spectrum, because this is unproven, because new hardware would have to be created to do this. So it would be a chicken and the egg before this got really lucrative to the single company they're recommending. The company's name is Aura, A-U-R-A. And I think I continue to work on state legislation. Again, our view of, as we see things like Connecticut happening, if we can get in there beforehand, try to help with a little common sense, that's what we're doing. And so it's pretty rudimentary and dull work, but really important. And if we can create something that's more friendly to drone pilots, then that's a huge win.
Absolutely. All right, Dan, anything for us this evening, sir?
Nope, nothing from me this week.
All right, Alex, anything from you, sir?
This weekend is the collegiate championships this year. It's going to be at University of North Dakota in Chapel Hill. So it'll be live streamed on the Multi-GP channel for anyone interested in watching that. I'm not going to be there because I graduated, so no longer able to compete as a collegiate student. But I hope the best to all the pilots competing, and it should be an interesting race this year.
Excellent.
Cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all I have this evening. It sounds like all everybody has this evening. So short meeting this week, guys.
Go home early.
Yeah. Definitely get out there and fly. It's I don't know what the temperature's doing here in Arizona. It's like we got up into the high 90s and now we're back down to 60s. So hey, good times here. So good flying weather. So if it's warm or cool, depending on what you prefer, get out and fly and have some fun. And as always, we'll see you in another 2 weeks. And we thank you for being here this evening. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. We're smiling on top of times don't fly